All right.
Hey, welcome back from the desk low. Man, if you've been watching the show, man, you know Detroit and Grand Rapids, man, the whole state of Michigan got a whole near and dear place in my heart. Right now, man, I'm joined by a prolific producer who hails from Grand Rapids. We all know Grand Rapids produces nothing but fire. Got his teeth cut in the Detroit hip hop scene, has gone off to do amazing collaboration projects with some of your favorite rappers. But the man that you see right in front of me, man, I have Apollo Brown.
What up? What up? Glad to be here, bro.
Man. You're so humble, Apollo. Um, and then hey, and also with the newcomer, man, I love it when I discover a new artist, man, because I used to be iffy about clicking on somebody new because I was like, oh man, what if I don't like him? But since I got into media, man, if I find a new artist who I just gravitate to, man, I can't help but like, how come more people ain't talking about this? But then I gotta remember the album's only like 5 days old. But hailing from Chicago right here, man, when I first heard this man's pen, it reminded me that Chicago still produces lyricists as opposed from the drill sound we all hear today, man. And I knew with Apollo backing behind the boards, this man was going to reach a whole new audience. I have the one and only Fillmore Greene.
Thank y'all for having me, man. Salute.
Salute.
Philmore, West Side Shy.
Yes, sir.
Garfield,
Now,
Thank y'all
Garfield
for having
Park,
me.
baby, Garfield Park.
oh yeah, no,
Garfield
no, yeah,
Park,
yeah,
you
yeah,
already know.
I got a question about that. Yeah, since Apollo threw that out there, are you guys really from the Garfield Parks, like from Chicago and Grand Rapids?
First of all, how did you know that?
I do my homework, sir.
He been doing his research.
Because I don't think we said that on the interview?
I don't think so, bro. I don't think so.
Maybe. I don't know, man. Yeah, I'm from Garfield Park, man. Grand Rapids, I'm from that area, from Garfield Park in Grand Rapids originally. So, and he's, I mean, Phil will tell you where he's from.
I'm from West Garfield Park, West Garfield Park, west side of Chicago. I'm from the Chicago Garfield Park.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some similarities too, though, when you really break
Oh,
it down.
I'm sure, absolutely.
Now, I understand
Yeah, but we both.
when Apollo makes an album, like he has to like really vibe with the person and in person. So when you guys were chilling together, like did that like cross together? Like, I'm from Garfield Park. I'm from Garfield Park too.
Yeah, no, it was funny, man, because I think we were going to eat, man. We were in Chicago and we were getting ready to go have dinner, and he said something about Garfield Park, man. I'm like, man, I'm from Garfield Park, man. That's crazy. It just kind of like it just kind of popped up. Obviously from different cities, different states, man. But
Right.
the fact that we're both from Garfield Park, man, is dope.
Well, what I like about
Yeah.
your guys' careers now too, there's a lot of similarities behind it too. From when I did my research now too, obviously with Apollo Brown, we all know Skill Trade. I know you hate that album, Apollo, but I just got to bring it up. Sorry, but with
Yeah,
Skill
yeah. No, It's funny, man. It's like a Nardwar interview, man. You doing your research.
Right. Yeah.
man, I'm just a fan of the culture, man. So, like I was saying before, there's a lot of similarities between you two, man. Because like with Apollo, with the Skill Trade album, it was composed of old beats from the early 2000s. When he was like a bedroom producer, he wasn't really telling anyone, and he had to throw something out there to be like to let people know he makes beats. And as with Fillmore, when creating Third World City, I believe that you had to on a recording bench for about 5 years with Off the Block, the recording label. We'll get more into that after. But
Oh wow.
I understand like
Yeah, you did your research, man.
oh like, yeah, yes sir, yes sir. Obviously.
Yeah.
But like what I said now too, like you had a stockpile of music well created Third World Order, and then you threw that out. Now if I got my facts straight, it was 2018.
Yeah. We put that out in 2018 and 2013 to 2018 we were just stockpiling records, and it was like 2016, 17 we really figured out what we really wanted to do with it. You
Okay.
know, Off the Block wasn't formed then. Everybody kind of went their separate ways, but you are on your shit. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you know what you're talking about.
Oh yes, sir. We'll get more into that after. But like I was saying for the audience now too, like the similarities behind your guys' stories now too. Like Did you guys ever like talk about that? Like, about your beginner stages when connecting like in person?
I mean,
Well,
I'm sure, bits and pieces of our early careers and stuff like that have come up. You know what I'm saying? We talk about a lot, man. We talk about, everything from our personal lives to the music that we made together. So I'm sure certain things have come up. I don't think either one of us has gotten in detail about earlier in our careers, and but it's nothing that neither one of us are hiding or nothing.
Oh yeah.
right, right, right.
My whole life is pretty much open, man. So,
Yeah,
uh, especially my career, everybody, that's on the table. So, um,
that's what I was about to say.
that's it's just nothing that we ever really talked about. I think certain things might have come up, but
Yeah,
we keep it.
it's really my bad, my bad. Go ahead, bro.
No, I was saying a lot of the stuff that we talk about, we keep it here and now.
Yeah, I really didn't have to. It's really not much to ask Apollo about the beginning of his career because like he just said, it's already out there. You can Google and go back and Google his involvement and check, his discography and really dig into the beginning of his career. So, no, we really didn't. We really never spoke about that. It's just like out there, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah, because from like the outsider, from a fan like us, now like we're like if you're really in tune with this industry, like we want to know about them. So when I researched that, I'm like, that's maybe why that album came out so good because like there's a lot more similarities now too. But I also noticed now too in you guys' interviews now too, like they don't really start off by asking you guys by a bunch of aliases now because as a fan like me, I want to know why you could have used your government name, but like why the name? Like, I'm sorry, the alias is Apollo Brown and Fillmore Greene.
Go ahead, Phil, man. You got a
Yeah,
more extravagant story
I'll
behind
check you
yours than
out.
I do.
Nah, nah. Well, you know me, man. It means several things. You know, my my uncle, who's Phil, he's no longer with us, and I hold him dear to my heart as well as my grandfather, Greene, Greene. He's also a junior, so that's my grandfather's government name as well. So I kind of wanted to, represent both sides of my family and with me, and that's when I came up with Fillmore Greene. And then as I got older, I wanted more meaning to it because it sort of sounded like I'm on some pimp shit, or it sort of sounded like, it's like, okay, is this your real name? So I wanted to live by my shit. So, the Philmore, place hatred and instigators last, make obstacles real effortless. That means, if you look at your goals and you have tunnel vision for that shit, you go for it. There's no way you can stumble, no way you can trip because you can't run the race and look backwards. You're going to run into someone, you're going to fall. You look at your goals and you go for them, and you're going to get them if you have that tunnel vision. Then, Greene, Greene, grow righteously every day, expect nothing equal. That means you can teach yourself something new every day. And if you teach yourself something new, you can't stay and you expect nothing equal. You can you can't stay stagnated. You can't decrease. You can't go below, but you can only move up. You know what I mean? So you're only going to grow. So it shows growth and advancement. That's what I live by. That's what I aim to do every day I'm on this planet, and that's where my name comes from. So it rolls off the tongue easy. Pause. Yeah, Fillmore Greene. You
I
know,
never
that's
knew there
a,
was so
that's
much
what it is.
history like that because sorry, Paulo. Because when I first heard the name Fillmore Green, I thought it was like on some pinch stuff. So that's why I wanted
I
to like
know.
let you
Yeah,
know like why the name Fillmore Green.
I mean,
yeah.
Philmore Green from Chicago, man.
I'm
Yes,
from
sir.
the west side of Chicago, baby. Nice to
You know
meet
what I'm saying?
you. Cost of living out now
Like
everywhere.
second track if you don't know that reference out there. And as for you, Apollo, why the name Apollo Brown?
Yeah,
Because you
mine's
can went
kind of
by your
elaborate,
government.
man. Apollo. I came up with Apollo Brown back in late 2006, I think it was.
Oh wow.
Um, Apollo is the Greek god of music. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And one of my favorite artists of all time, James Brown, as a nod to James Brown. And I
nice.
wanted my name to be like, I wanted it to be a moniker, man, that sounded like an actual name, you know, first and last name. I didn't want it to be like, you know, you know, the electrician, you know, or something like that, man. I didn't want that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't want that, man. I wanted, you know, an actual name. You know what I'm saying? And Apollo Brown
Right.
just kind of, it just kind of rolled off the tongue good, and
Pause.
um, pause. Yeah, and no, but it was, you know, I came in and it was solidified by my man Finale.
Nice.
Finale out of Detroit, man. You know, he kind of gave me the nod with that name, man. Because I was literally, it was funny, man. I was on my way to a producer showcase, and this was my first producer showcase ever. This is the first time I ever showcased my beats, and I think this was 2007. And I was on my way, and I didn't have a name. I just come off of like a 2-year hiatus where I wasn't making music. I was done with music. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this no more. And then I got back into it. You know, people got me back into it, and I wanted to reinvent myself. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, part of reinventing yourself is cutting your hair off and coming up with a new name. So I was like, yo, I need to come up with a new name. I didn't have a name yet, but I had a showcase that night. But I didn't have a name. I'm like, yo, what's my name? They got to call somebody up on stage. And
Right.
so that whole day, man, I'm just like racking my brain trying to come up with a name. I didn't want to use any of my old names. I'm like, yo, what am I gonna call myself? And I'm literally in the car on the way, just going through names. Like, all right, this, and that. And I hit my man Finale, man, and I was like, what you think about Apollo Brown? And he was like, yeah, that's it right there. That's dope. I like that a lot, man. That's dope. And I'm like, all right, cool. I still wasn't sold on it yet. But I got to the showcase and I wrote that name down just as a kind of a filler, just to put it down because that was in my head. And apparently, about 3 different times that night, they called Apollo Brown to the stage. I didn't answer the call because I didn't know who Apollo Brown was. I wasn't used to being called Apollo. I literally just came up with that name that day. So they was like, Apollo Brown, you know, it's your turn. Never, I was like, it never dawned on me that they were calling me to the stage until Finale. It was like the 4th time they called me, and it was probably gonna be the last time that they called me to the stage. And Finale was like, yo, ain't that the name that you went with? And I was like, oh shit, that is me. That's crazy. And I finally went to the stage, and I got on stage and I did my showcase and I played my beats, and it was crazy the response that I got, man, because it was like, you know, this was a showcase with, it was myself, 14KT, Black Milk, Nick Speed, DJ Dez, I want to say Big Tone. I mean,
Damn.
the showcase was crazy. I'm like, yo, what am I even
Every
doing here? What am I doing here? Nobody knows who I am. These is all like established, you know, producers in Detroit. And House Shoes put it on. And yeah, man, that was like where I got my start, man, as far as like people knowing who I was, because I made up my name that day. And they called me to the stage. I played beats. I got off stage. Cats was going crazy. It was trying to get my info. It was like, yo, who are you? Where'd you come from? I came out of nowhere. I wasn't on the scene before that. And ever since then, man, just Apollo Brown stuck. And you know, I mean, it was just something I came up with that day, man. And I'm like, Apollo Brown. All right, there it is. So
and he
sure
almost
that
there's
was
the
a good,
showcase because
I'm
he almost
sure that was a
you
I'm
know,
sure that was a classic showcase too.
oh, that
oh yeah.
showcase was crazy, bro. It was crazy.
Crazy.
You know what I'm saying? That was a
Crazy.
crazy showcase. And for me, that was my first showcase. So I was like, oh, they threw me to the wolves, bro. To the
You stepped
wolves,
in with the
man.
Lions, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man.
That
Hey,
was heavy.
to be the best, you got to, you know, be with the best, man.
Yeah,
Right.
that's very true.
They are the best. They are the best.
It's like a hidden gem coming out of it. It's like they're picking away at it. It's like, yo, you were like here the whole time, but like from Grand Rapids, of course.
Yeah, I mean, before that, you know what I'm saying? Like I came to Detroit in 2003 after I graduated college, and so I've been in Detroit longer than I lived in Grand Rapids. But obviously, like you said, I cut my teeth on Detroit hip hop. I represent Grand Rapids as far as where I came from, where I grew up. But when it comes to hip hop, when it comes to music and my career, I represent Detroit 100%. I mean, that's where I got my legs. You know what I'm saying? Detroit is where I cut my teeth, and I represent Detroit hip hop to the fullest, man. But yeah, originally, growing up, definitely, I grew up in Grand Rapids on the west side of the state, man. That's why I wear a Sox hat all the time, man. I'm a big White Sox fan. So,
Here we go,
growing
man.
up on the west side of the state, man. We watched WGN every day. The White Sox games was on the TV every day, man. So
here we go.
that's what it is. White Sox all day, baby. It's Cubs
Gotta
fan
go.
over here.
See, we cubby. It's a cubby nation over here, man.
Nah, man.
Low. It's a we cubby nation over here, man. This is what we do.
I'll say we, man. You're the only one in your whole people.
Hey,
Cubs, dog. Get out of here.
man. I stand for the
Don't
nation,
say we.
man.
Don't say we, bro. You like the Cubs. That's it.
I stand for the nation.
Now, Philmore, hailing from a shy city. When I heard your pen, I had to ask now too. Like, you must have been inspired from like local legends, like like Common and like Rhyme Fest or like cats like those days. Am I correct?
Well, Common, yeah. I by the time and salute to Ron Fest, he supports the music. He's a he's a standout guy in the city. He's a standout guy in the city of Chicago. But I got up on Ron Fest a little later in my career when my pen was already working. But coming up, it was the golden era, and Common was one of those guys that that I studied simply because he was from Chicago, moving back and forth, and I admired how he was traveling back and forth from New York. And Chicago was a crazy place to break at the time. And some people say it still is, but back then you really had to travel. So he was gone a lot, man. And I would see him holding his own with Mos and Talib and cats in that nature. And you gotta love that when he coming from the crib. How could you, if you're doing that type of music, how could you not, look up to him? So yeah, I would say Common played a big part of my creative, big part of me honing my skills as an MC. I studied him.
Because when I did my research on you, I understand like coming from Chicago, like you used to like travel like to do like Detroit or like New York sometimes and then come back and like there's like a showcase out there in like Detroit or like New York and then you come back to Chicago. But everybody remembers their humble beginnings. Now, I was curious about your humble beginnings. Like who got you into the booth? Like was it like with your crew of like Off the Block? Like how does this story go?
Well, before Off the Block, my sister Z, she started, before that, I fell in love with music. I fell in love with music. My grandmother, she's Jehovah's Witness, and she would leave. She would leave and go to her studies. And my aunts, I lived in a house with a lot of women. So my aunts used to, when she would leave, my aunts used to blast everything from Tupac to Biggie to Raekwon, Snoop, Dre. They used to blast all the golden era music. My aunt Michelle used to do that. She used to blast all the golden era music. And my other aunt, Diane, she was more, she had a wider range of music. Michelle was younger. She was the kid next to the baby. So she was with all the golden era hip hop, the Onyxes, everything. And my aunt Diane, she would go from Meatloaf, Duran Duran, AC/DC, and she would jump back over to hip hop, and she had like this 3-foot box in the basement. She would just throw her tapes in. And me and my cousin Mimi, which is her daughter, we would sneak in the basement and go listen to those tapes. So we would just go listen to those tapes, and I fell in love with it, I fell in love with it. Then in 8th grade, Moment of Truth came out, and I started, working my pen, started trying it. Moment of Truth came out. I said, man, this is what I want to do. I heard the scratches. I heard the way Guru would place his voice on the beats. And back then I knew nothing about cadence. So I'm looking at it all. Hindsight is 2020 now. And I started falling in love with that. And then I got older You know, my cousin Z, she started freestyling with her friends in the basement from school, and I would just jump in and do my thing, little 1, 2 bars, and get up out of there. And from there, it led to me, meeting my off the block brothers, and that's when my brother Shay, he really took me in the lab, and he would come get me, this 16-year-old kid, every day, sit me down, you know, have his girl at the time go in the room and sit us down and teach me song structure, teach me bars, and teach me how to do this and that. And we did that every day for like a year straight. And then after that, I started getting into the booth, the recording aspect of it. I started getting into the recording aspect of it. And sorry about that. I started getting into the recording aspect of it all. And after that, off the block was set. We would have like rhyme camps, hip hop camp. We would go in the lab, and whoever had the most records, that's you get the most time in the booth. You know what I'm saying? So everybody wanted the most time in the booth. If you had one record, you only gonna go in there and do one record. If you had seven and everybody else got three, they gonna knock their three out, and you got the bulk of the time. So it was like it was hip hop camp. We would go do that, and then we would travel. We were like one of the first labels or crews on the West Side to have merch. We would walk with snapback hats and with spray paint on them and sell them. It got so heavy they started bootlegging them in the flea market. You know, then we met Cam. Cam came to Chicago. He met my man Duke, and this is Cameron Giles. Hip hop
I was gonna
iconic artist.
ask.
He came through the block. He shot the video on the block. He was ready to sign one of my homies, but he eventually passed away, and that made me go even harder at what I was doing. So it started there, man, and I just had this thing for traveling. I would love to go to Detroit, and go to the hip hop scenes. I would love to go to the sub T's in New York, Detroit, LA, and just sit with the people in the hip hop scene and see how they do things, and put myself amongst those people. You could do everything from home, but it don't start until you get up out of the crib. You know what I mean? Everything is accessible to you at home, but you gotta go travel in order to see what it's really about. So it started that way, man. A young kid really shooting his shot at it, to really keeping the passion and respecting my passion. And I still do it to this day. And that's how we got the record with Apollo, man. And Apollo took notice. I was in Detroit several times, very frequently. And, he tapped my shoulder, gave me the canvas, man. The cost of living is here, bro. Go listen to that, man. We did our thing with that joint, man. People really loving this album.
I'm
Everything
glad,
led up to this point.
man. I'm glad you kept going because that album is so introspective. Like I was listening to it again on my walk home, and it just like it just takes you on a journey. Like even like you can't skip a record on that. It's like one of those records like you have to listen to front to back. Like you can't just like yeah, you can have your favorite records, but if you really want to get the fulfillment of that album, like just listen to it in full. And but we'll get more into that after. And so when you're with the off the block, you said in the interview, that's why I'm so glad you cleared that up because you just said Cam and I'm over here on the other end watching this film like is it Cameron or like is it who is it like so that's why I'm glad we got that cleared up.
Yeah, it's Cameron Giles, man. Cameron Giles, and this is paid in full era. This is paid in full era. Paid in full era Cameron Giles. He was just riding one day, and my man Ike, salute to my brother Ike, over there got you faded. My man Ike and my man Duke, they were driving one day and they bumped into him on Madison. And he was looking for a car wash, just random. And just so happened he was one of my man Duke. He was Duke's like favorite artist. He would always talk about Cam, and it was just so divine. You would meet this guy in Chicago. So it got to the point they were going down to his penthouse, just chilling, and he wanted to form like a Dipset Midwest, and everything in that nature. He was interested in my man Frilly. Frilly ended up passing away, and I guess everybody got a little disheartened after that. We kind of like they stopped doing it, but I always had a passion for it, so I kept my pen going, and that eventually led me to tapping my big brother on the shoulder, Chuck. Chuck Chuck is a guy, he's been knowing me since I was 16. He used to He used to manage a group called Soul 360. Joe Glass and I Rock. They had BT placements. They were moving, shaking, and popping. And I knew Chuck, when he gets started with something, Chuck is going to be 110% in. So I tapped Chuck on the shoulder. And now, it's me and Chuck, Rashid. I end up meeting Rashid. And that's part of the reason Apollo and I connected. So I'm kind of like answering questions before you even ask them, too.
Yeah,
So,
slow down. We
yeah,
gotta catch
yeah.
that first. So
Yeah.
that's crazy, man. Because I remember when Cam was gonna be like, "Get it in Ohio" when he was doing the Crime Pays album. So yeah, I
Yeah.
remember.
He shot that on our block. He shot that on our block.
Okay,
Yeah, he shot that video on our block. He came, pulled up a bunch of New York cats, Harlem. He said Harlem reminded him of the West Side. West Side reminded him of Harlem. And he
so,
shot that video on our block.
oh, well, sorry, salute to Cam, but it's not it. We get a little bit off topic. Salute to Cam if you're watching.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just answering the
So,
question. Cost
Apollo,
of living.
I know that like you get a question asked a lot about like your album, your classic albums with Guilty Simpson, OC, Razzcast. But one thing I was very curious about with you, Apollo, man, like I've always wanted to ask you this now, because you're both from Grand Rapids. You know him since you were 5 years old. And you guys both gone to hip hop together. You guys are like brothers in this hip hop thing. Like, if you guys think about it, you have an album with Joel, he has an album with Kid Crooked, and it's from my favorite group, Slaughterhouse. Or he'll work with an underground artist like Recognize Ali, or if you were Fillmore. So I was curious, Apollo, is there ever a chance that you can do an album with Bronze Nazareth?
Absolutely, man. You know what I'm saying? Me and him have talked about it for years. It's something that we both came in this together. You know what I'm saying? And we started together, and it's crazy because we grew up in the same neighborhood, and now we live in the same neighborhood again. As adults, as with our families and all that stuff. So we kind of came full circle, man. It's weird, but um, yeah, no, we've definitely talked about it. We've been doing more music together as of late. You know what I'm saying? I just produced 3 joints on his new album.
Yes, sir.
He's done records for my compilation albums, and like, it was not sincerely Detroit, and we work with a lot of the same people, and yeah, I mean that's again, that's something we've talked about, man, and it's something that'll probably more than likely happen, without a doubt.
Because like from an outsider, we think about it, and it's like, man, like there were so many ideas when I think about an Apollo and Bronze Nazareth. Like, you guys can call it Grand Rapids with rap capitalized in rapids. Like, it's just like things like that from like the fans' perspective. It's like, when are they gonna do this?
It's funny. We're going back home in about 2 weeks, man. We got a show in Grand Rapids in 2 weeks, and it's kind of like a homecoming show because we've never done a show together in Grand Rapids, where we're from. You know what I'm saying? So this is the first time that we've gotten together and actually we're doing a show. So, but yeah, no, we talk about working all the time, man. We're together. We obviously, like you said, we've known each other since we was 5 years old, man. So we got a lot more to talk about other than hip hop and
Yes.
and music, man. You know what I'm saying? So, we grew up together. We came up together. We moved to Detroit together. We went to college together, high school together. We our whole lives. You know what I'm saying? So, and like I said, now we live in the same neighborhood. Come full circle. Grew up together in the same neighborhood in Grand Rapids, and now we live in the same neighborhood now with our families. As old men. So, but yeah, no, we got plenty of time for it. Again, like I said, it's something that will more than likely happen, man. It's a long time coming, definitely.
Oh yes, very long time coming. We shout out to Willie can't forget him from Grand Rapids.
Oh yeah,
So,
absolutely. Willie the Kid, a lot of Dark Man. You know what I'm
oh,
saying?
yes,
Floyd
sir.
Mayweather. We went to high school with all these cats, man.
Man,
Yeah.
like
El DeBarge and the DeBarge family. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Switch. Like it's a lot of legends where we come from.
so do you like look back sometimes, and like do you like just like reminisce? Like, you look back and see how far everyone came from back then?
Oh, absolutely, man. Especially with tools like Facebook or Instagram, man. I don't even think too many graduating classes are even doing reunions anymore because we all know what each other's doing. The whole point of doing a reunion or class reunion was to get together and you know reminisce a little bit and kind of catch up on what people are doing that you haven't seen in years, 20 years, 15, 25, whatever. Now, man, I mean, my class hasn't even had some class of 98. We've never had a class reunion. And I think it's because, things like Facebook, man, we know what each other's doing. We talk to each other. We catch up with everybody. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, I graduated with everybody got kids, some of them got grandkids, man. So, some people are still living in Grand Rapids. Some people moved to Pennsylvania, Florida, Cali, wherever. Everybody, but you know where everybody's at. So, but yeah, no, I definitely I see where everybody has gotten to, since then, man. It's a great thing.
Man, it's great to hear, man. Now, I was just curious about before we get into the album. Now, I just got one more question about something that's not related to the album. Now, Fillmore, are you familiar with Maybach Music Group?
Sure. Yeah.
And then, okay,
For
so
sure.
so this is like I was curious about this, Apollo. Now you have an album with Stolly now too, who was a former Maybach Music Group member, and
Yeah,
you are with Mellow Music Group.
yeah,
You see where I'm going with this with the MMG thing now too.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
With you producing for somebody like that, has that like came up again like with your conversation? Like, I'm with Mellow Music Group and the whole Maybach music situation. Like, I just find that crazy how you got this guy to actually do like records we can go back to. Because when we think of like Maybach, we were like, sub records or things like that. But when he left, it's like, what's somebody gonna do? And it's like you breathe a whole new life into an artist. So that's why I was curious if that ever came up.
I mean, Stally's amazing, man. Stally's a great artist, and he also represents the Midwest. You know what I'm saying? He's from Ohio, so I'm all about working with fellow Midwest artists. You know what I'm saying? I enjoy that, man. We come from a similar background, man, and Midwest is very blue collar. You know what I'm saying? Very, very, very blue collar. So when I get a chance to work with another artist from the Midwest, man, that's doing their thing, man, I take full advantage. But the whole MMG thing that never really came up, man. I never really. He was away from Maybach for a little while
Yeah.
before we got together. You know what I'm saying? So that never really was an issue. Never really came up. Fans never really. Oh, you're off of one MMG and onto the other. Like that's not really. No, we never really came up.
All right. Yeah, I was just like curious about that because it's just like little things like that, like from the outside. It's like I wonder if they talk about this, like because like from outside of the music, it's like you guys obviously have regular conversations.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt, man. So I mean, but yeah, that never came up. You know what I'm saying? I never really delve into, people's personal or career, um, certain things that may have come up on, in the public as I don't know, problems or anything like that, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he had any issues with MMG, the other MMG
Oh, I don't think so. I just think like it
yeah,
just
I don't.
yeah.
But no, it never came up. Never came up. Nope. We were blinders, man. We were full head of full steam ahead.
I was saying before, man, this album with you, gents, like the cost of living, you can see it on the screen now too. Go get it on your all DSPs, vinyl. They said they may do run of cassettes, CDs. I'll put the link in the description below. Make sure you support that album. So I was curious about Apollo now too. You two met through Rashad ID, but I was curious, like, because I know you're very picky about working with an artist. So what made you actually like want to do this album with Fillmore?
I mean, first and foremost, man, like I said, well, you like you mentioned, man, Rashid Hadi, man. I'm a big fan of Rashid Hadi. I've known Hadi for about 15 years. It's been a while.
Oh, wow.
Amazing producer, amazing artist, one of the best producers to come out of Chicago to me ever. Um, but you know what I'm saying? If he co-signs somebody, if he works with somebody, I know they're good. I know they're legit. I know they're, a certain caliber of MC or artist. and just seeing that, man, and getting familiar with Philmore's music, especially that first album, what put me on, and and then just I was interested, man. It just fit my style, it fit my sound, man. It was just like, yo, this dude will complement my sound, and make my beats come alive, man. And I could just see it, I could hear it. You know what I'm saying? And me and Hadi, we're along the same kind of the same thread. You know what I'm saying? We make kind of the same style music, the same feel. A lot of the same type of chops, a lot of the same. It's just kind of we're in the same realm. You know what I'm saying? We would be if you had to put a bunch of people in the same. We would be in the same room. You know what I'm saying? We'd be in the same room with producers. So, it was just interesting to hear Phil on his beats, man, and the way he wrote his beats and um
Pause.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh.
yo
Oh
no
wow.
it's so
Yo,
the way he just
yo.
kind of slid all over the record, man, and he I don't know, man, it was perfect for my type of music. So when I finally got the chance to meet him, like he stated earlier, man, he came through Detroit, and he came through a few times, man. But the one particular time he came through with Sky Zoo and Elzai, and
Oh
they were on
wow.
tour. Yeah, they were on tour, and like I said, I pulled him aside and was like, "Yo, man, I'm a fan. I respect what you do. You running around here with my man Hadi, so I already know what's up. Um, let's we gotta work, man. We gotta work. I'm a fan, so." I told him I didn't know if that was going to be I didn't know if it was going to be just a song or a feature, or if it was going to turn into an album. Man, luckily right now we both carved out the time, and we both had a window of opportunity, so we decided to make an album, man, and it was a perfect marriage.
I like that about you, Apollo. Like it shows like the humbleness that you have inside you because as a man of your caliber who has the catalog of music that you have now too, for you to say that to like a new artist and not be like, oh, I'm established, I don't have to work with someone like that. But it just shows like the love.
Nah, man, I work with whoever I'm a fan of, man. Like I don't work with anybody I'm not a fan of, and I don't do this. Everybody knows I don't do this for money. It's not a money thing. Of course, I make my living as a producer. I put food on the table, clothes on my kids' backs, roof over the head, stuff like that. But if I wanted to, man, I could change my whole style up, become a whole different type of producer, and make a lot more money than I make now. You know what I'm saying? So it's not really about the money. It's about the comfort, obviously, but it's also about the dignity, man. And it's also about maintaining that, man. And I'm not gonna make music that I don't like, and I'm not gonna work with artists that I'm not a fan of. You know what I'm saying? I like to keep my integrity. Integrity is important to me. Um, they say integrity doesn't put food on the table, but it puts food on mine. You know what I'm saying? And so again, man, I'm not about how I don't care if your level is up here, or if your level is down here, or whatever. I don't care about any of that. Numbers and all that. I don't care about any of that. It's obvious. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So um, I'm here to make good music, and I'm here to work with artists who are like-minded, and we have the same goal, and that's to make good music, man, and music that's relatable, and music that moves people, and that's that.
I ain't gonna lie, like, because with this album now too, like, you once said in an interview, you make music, it's either gonna make you forget about something or make you remember something. And when I'm listening to like the cost of living, it just like the little things, like I think about like how family, like raising a family in the modern day era, like the Pampers and the iPad. Back then, it was just like just like Pampers and milk. But like, it makes you think about like things like that, and it's just like with your production, like I'm
That
not
was
gonna
that
say,
was all that was all Fillmore right there. That was Phil who Phil made everything come alive. So he made everything visual. You know what I'm saying? When you're listening to the album, yeah, you're feeling the beat and you're feeling the ambiance and you're feeling the whole soundtrack behind the words, but yo, he made it come alive and he made it
yeah,
visual. He made it so you can actually see it. When you're when you're listening to the album, you're living in Chicago for 50 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And that's a beautiful thing. That's something that not all MCs can do. That's something that a lot of MCs can't do, is be visual
Thank you.
and bring
Thank
you
you.
into their world. Absolutely.
That's very, I like how you say that. It literally, because when I'm walking back, when I looked at the album, like how long it was, I was like, damn, it just feels like I went to Chicago for like 50 minutes because Fillmore, just the way that how vivid that your wordplay is now too. Even like the cover, like it was that same type of weather today, but with snow, and just like that's rare we get albums like this nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, you credit Apollo for the cover. You know what I mean? Apollo came with the cover, and, it was a no-brainer. That's iconic right there. Salute to Coco Lee. He took the photo. Apollo got the cover. We got it. And, it was just dope. It fits the music. It fits the all around. A cover with Sunshine wouldn't have went. We would have made it went, but that cover fits the music and the tone. And it's not even saying it in a sense of saying we're down or it just fits the music. It fits the soundtrack to what we're bringing to you. And as far as, I try to put certain words and certain rhymes to make it detailed and to make the smallest words can make every verse pop out. You know what I mean? So I'm very mindful of how I place my words and how I say things and what I don't put in there, not to get too wordy in some verses. It was a great writing process when I came up with the words for this cinematic piece right here, man. It cost a living. It was very fun. I a lot of late nights, a lot of reflecting. You know what I mean? It was a great process writing this album, and I approached it. It was a different process because the way I approached writing this album, I did no other album this way. It's very different for me.
Now, like
But I'm gonna do the rest the same way.
No, I like when you say that too, because like the littlest word can make like a huge difference now too. Because when I hear like lines like sorry, I forget what song this is from, but when you said, "Where's the television sitcom with the morals at the end?" And now it's scripted reality for attention. And when you think about that, like when you turn on the
Time
TV,
goes.
it makes you think like, where is all these channels?
Time goes.
Like, well, yeah. And now we got like Jersey
I
Shore.
mean, you look at yeah, you look at all the television, you look at all the shows back then, and in particular, I was thinking of a show called Family Matters.
Okay,
You
I
know,
remember
when
that. Yes, sir.
TGI Fridays, Family Matters, Full House, all this stuff will happen within this 30 minutes, really 24 when you take out the commercials. Everything will happen within this 24 minutes of us watching. But at the end of the show, they sit down on the couch, the soft music plays, and they give you the moral behind whatever the
It's
show
a
was written
rare
around.
condition this day and age. The
Yeah.
newspaper page.
Those are classic though. Like if you think about those, yeah, those are classic songs though.
You sound just like homie though. I ad lib you if my voice was right, but I can't even hit the note like I want to hit it. Pause. But yeah,
Oh,
man, it'll take you on that. There was no moral at the end of now. Now we have these reality shows where everything is, they say it's reality, but it's like an oxymoron because it's scripted. It's
Yeah.
not reality. They saying cut. They giving you something to read. They placing people together to be couples. And that's what our shorties are watching. And that's what they want to be when our shorties have this to watch. They don't know the feeling of watching that new Martin episode.
Yeah.
It's just different, man. It's different.
It is too. But like with the way that this album is placed together, like with the sequencing now too, like I can only imagine what didn't make it and what message was on those songs. Because I remember Apollo saying that his favorite beat that's for that album, you guys didn't put it on the album because it didn't fit. That's why I'm like curious. I was like how hard is it, Apollo, to like touch something like that, even though you like it so much, but it doesn't fit? Like how hard is that?
I mean, the album as a whole is the most important. You know what I'm saying? And so I do everything for the good of the album, not for the good of me, not for the good of Fillmore, not for the good of any single. It's the album as a whole. So if that means I got to cut my favorite beat off the album, then that's just how it is.
Yeah.
I got compilation albums that you would be like, what? You cut this person off the album? Like I got songs with certain MCs that people would never know I have because it just didn't fit the album. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that's how I feel. It's for the good of the album, man. It's not, you can't let ego get in the way. You can't let ego get in the way at
Yeah.
all. It's all
And
it's all about the good of the album.
I didn't feel away when he cut him off. I understood. This is your favorite. This is your favorite baby. This is one of your favorite babies. And I actually wrote two records to that record, to that beat.
Yeah, yeah,
So it was like, neither one made it. And I was like, okay, cool. At least the bare minimum, we have two records to this beat that you love the most, whether you keep it or not. But at the end of the day, like Apollo said, it's about the end product and what fits most
absolutely.
to what we're going to present to the people. You
Yeah,
know,
even like I'm not big when like for guest appearances now because because sometimes it can mess up like the message of the album. No, but I believe that each guest appearance on here was strategic too because I also know like you were also influenced by Dilated Peoples. Now to have evidence on the record with you with an Apollo, that must have been like one of your dream moments like actually come true because like thinking like when we listen to our favorite artists, like for me, like yeah, I came up in the shady aftermath era, but I did my homework. I fell in love with like Black Moon, Smith and Wesson, uh, cats like that. But with you, like to actually have a record like that, like what did that mean to actually have a record with someone you looked up to on an album that's so significant for your career?
I mean, it means everything just to be working with Apollo means everything to me. You know what I mean? And then you tap the shoulder of an artist that I studied coming up. I listened to all of his albums and I had the chance to meet him for one time, and it was dope. You know what I mean? Evidence is in my top 10 as far as delivery goes. I wrote a list as far as like my artists, as far as just based on delivery, and Evidence was in my top 10. And Elzai was in that as well. I had opportunity to tell him that. And I told Ev as well when I met him, you know, he looked at me like I was crazy, but he didn't know me at the time. And I think he's a little bit more familiar with my name right now. Obviously, we're on the record together. But it means everything, bro. Like an artist you grew up watching and listening to and studying with the producer I don't want to make you feel old, bro, but you grew up listening to and studying. You know what I mean? It means everything. I feel like I'm honored. I am honored to not only be represent Chicago in this manner, but to be repping Chicago on this platform with a great guy like Apollo Brown and to have a record with a great guy like Evidence. They're just true, authentic people, and they don't change. They don't budge. They are themselves when they see you, and when you see them, that's who they are. Like it's no sugarcoating it. It's no big eyes and little U's. Yeah, they have bigger followings than me,
Yeah.
but I've never felt that. You know what I mean? When I worked with Apollo, it was just like, what do you want to do? What do you think? He never, you know, uh, just this is what we're gonna do and this is that. That's final. You know what I mean? It was always, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And it was cool. You know what I mean? Like that's love. You don't get too many people like Apollo Brown and Evidence in this business. And you don't. So hats off to those guys, man. They're legends, man. They're legends, bro. So I'm honored. I'm honored for real.
It's good to see like someone like very humble to actually accomplish something that they wanted for so long. Now, as with Apollo now too, because this is what I always want to ask a producer when they do a full album with an artist. When you made this, you don't have to give away the what you use, but When you were making this album with Fillmore, like, did you make the beats specifically for him, like after a conversation, or did you do it all before you knew you could do the album with him?
No, I made the beats for him, specifically for this album. I mean, that's just what did I give you? 20? We started with 20.
Yeah, we started. You said you made
I
24,
made
but
yeah,
you gave me
I made
20.
more than that. Yeah. So I ended up I gave him 20, and it wasn't even email. It was like, yo, come to Detroit. He came to Detroit. He was like, yo, I'll come right now. I'm like, bet. Let's go. So I booked some studio time. I invited a few friends over, and we had a nice little session out of it, man. And you know, played him the beats, man, and gave him dumped him on something, and a thumb drive or whatever, and then sent him home with the beats, man. And that was it,
Cost of living, man.
yeah, man. It was everything went smooth, man. I can't even. There was no
Uh,
hiccups. You know what I'm
nope.
saying? There was no hiccups in recording, no hiccups in mixing, mastering. It's almost like, man, what you wait for something to go wrong. Something always goes wrong, man. But it was super smooth, man, and you know, yeah. I mean, all these beats was specifically made for this album. You know what I'm saying? And I knew what I wanted the album to sound like. This was my interpretation. I told him, this is my interpretation of Chicago. From the outside looking in, this is how I feel Chicago sounds like. You know what I'm saying? I don't have the right to say what Chicago sounds like. Again, like I said, this is my interpretation of what it, if you ask 10 people from Chicago, what's the sound of Chicago, you might get 10 different answers. You might get an answer that's totally different from what I think it is. But being someone that's, from the outside looking in, this is my personal interpretation of Chicago. And I try to do my best. And
Oh yeah, you nailed that. I ain't gonna front. You nailed that. So
that's the
you
thing.
from
I don't
Chicago,
know if I nailed it or not. You know what I'm saying? But again, because that's who am I to say? But because I'm not from Chicago, so but getting the stamp of approval from Phil himself, from Hadi, and from everybody around them, that made me feel better about the music.
Oh yeah, they already saying like Apollo he might as well just start repping Chicago. He gonna come up here anytime. That's what my homie's saying now. They like, yeah, he gonna come up here anytime, man. He want us. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I mean, and that goes to show what I just said, man. You come around, you're a great person, and you meet great people through great people. So at the end of the day, that's what it was, man. All my brothers love that guy. He can come up here and go to Buffalo Sam's, and the neighborhood know who he is already. So,
Buffalo
you know,
Sam's.
yeah, in the hood, smack dab in the hood, and he's good. You know what I mean? So that's what it is, man. Like good people, man. Good people. It equals good music when they're working. So that's what it was. It was just energy, all good energy. Nothing went wrong because the energy was right.
No.
You know.
and what I noticed about this album too, there's a lot of integrity behind this album now too, and that's like also something we don't really see nowadays because since the rise of Griselda, nothing against Griselda, but it just seems like we see so many other rappers that have to have like previous crack dealing experience, ski mask, some drumless beats, and it just seems like they're on. But I want to find like artists like Fillmore, like that are still out there that has a message behind their music. That's why I go so deep into Detroit because there's from the artists to the producers to the singers. It's just like there's so many people from Detroit that have a message. That's why when Apollo works with somebody like Fillmore, I was like I ain't gonna front Fillmore. This is the first project I heard from you, and yeah, you definitely heard.
Okay.
But being that
Bet.
this is the first project that you heard from Fillmore, you went back and delve into his other projects, right?
Yes, that's how I discovered that.
Absolutely. And that's what happens, man. You know what I'm saying, Phil? That's your catalog is what is important.
Yeah,
It's never
Yeah.
really it's never so much as the album before you, the one that you put out yesterday. It's about the albums that you put out last year and the years before, and then they
Right.
catch back up to the album that you just put out yesterday. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy how people every day people learn who you are and get to know who you are for the first time, and then they go
Yeah.
back and see, all right, what else does this person have? What else does this artist have? And then your catalog just starts spiking, and
Yep.
that's a beautiful thing, man. That's what it's all about.
And I like how you said that, like, because it's true like that now too, because like you always remember like a significant artist or like how you found them, like how I got into hip hop, like how I discovered Detroit. My first CD was the Dr. Dre 2001, but every artist on that CD I did my research on how I found out. Yes, I always say Eminem introduced me to Detroit hip hop, but it wasn't until cast like Slum Village, Elzai, J Dilla that made me really fall, Frank and Tank, that made me really fall in love with hip hop in the early 2000s. So this is like, it's like when I discover a new artist like Fillmore, I can only imagine what other like fans out there, when they hear this, it's like, there's still real lyricists from Chicago.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you never forget how an artist makes you feel.
Yeah.
You might forget the name of a song, you might forget the name of an album, you might even forget the face of the artist or even the name of the artist, but you'll never forget how that artist made you feel when you heard that song that you love so much. And then it comes back on the radio, or you hear somebody else playing and you be like, yo, that's that joint. That's that joint. And you just get this feeling. And it's just like, yo, I never forgot how it made me feel when I listened to Supreme Clientele for the first time. Or when I listened to Breaking Atoms for the first time. Looking at the front door, like made me feel some type of way when that came on. I was like, what is this, man? You know what I'm saying? My favorite
Right.
album of all time is Into the Stage. You know what I'm saying? Black Moon. Never forget how that made me, feel the first time I listened to that album. You know, when Who Got the Props came on, I was just like, yo, what is going on here, man? What is this?
People
Late,
D minus.
you know what I'm saying? It was just like Beat Miners is top 5 for me. Top 5 producers of all time,
Oh,
bro.
wow.
So, one of the biggest influences on my sound. And but you never forget how an artist makes you feel. That's one of those things that I try to do with music. It's one of those things I'm sure Phil tries to do with music, man, is make you
Yeah.
feel it, man. These ain't
Yeah.
just sounds and words. You know what I'm saying? This is feelings. This is what we want to do. We want to move you. And like you mentioned before, I want to make you forget something to make you remember something. I want to take you places with the music, man, and I want you to feel it, because
Experience.
that's what you don't forget. You don't
Yeah.
forget that later.
Yeah, because I think like when I look back on this album, like let's say like a year from now, I'm gonna remember like, damn, like it takes you on a Chicago experience for 50 minutes, and like I'll always remember that walk, like going through like that second time going through the album, because there's just certain lines that hit you hard, and like
Oh,
I can't, you get those goosebumps when you hear it.
Cost of Living is one of those albums where you listen to it every day and you really dive into it. There's so many quotables. There's so many things within the beat. Like just the other day, I'm noticing something Apollo took out in one of the beats that were originally there. You know what I mean? And that's part of the arrangement process. And I'm hearing it. If you listen to the lyrics, you're gonna notice something, and you're gonna do you know who Ruben the Fanador is? Do you know? You can study these things and you can look these things up to make it make more sense when you really dive into the words and the lyrics. You can listen to this album from time to time, from years from now, and get new things when you listen to it. I intentionally wrote it that way, as I try to do with every piece of work that I, because the more you talk about it, the longer it lives. So this album will stand the test of time, man. I'm saying it, not in a cocky way, but more confident, man. This will stand the test of time. And I think people are going to talk about Cost of Living for years
I agree. I
and
agree.
years from now.
It's definitely one of the highlights from this year, and let me tell you, we got a lot of good highlights, but this one, because like a brand new artist like Fillmore Greene could be on my radar. I was like, how? Like I never knew I needed this collaboration in my life.
It was left field. Most of his base don't know me. You know what I mean? Like that's why we got the nice to meet you. You know, I intentionally wrote it that way because most of his base don't know me, man. So let me
They do
introduce
now.
myself. They do now, you know. Let me introduce myself for those who don't know. So now you know. Nice to meet you. So oh man, like the
I like
perfect
how
way. Perfect.
Sorry to cut you off. I like how you keep pointing out the "Nice to Meet You" because that's literally the second track off that album where you're introducing stuff at the end. Hi, I'm Philmore Greene. Nice to meet you. So I like how you keep throwing little Easter eggs in there.
Yeah, from the west side of Chicago.
On
Yes,
the
sir.
west side of Chicago, man. I knew the magnitude of this album. I knew where it was gonna go. I knew people overseas that never heard my name before. People all over this world and even in the states that never heard my name. This man put in a lot of work. You know what I mean? And it goes to what we were talking about earlier in the interview. It's no big eyes and little U's. He could have tapped, I'm sure, plenty other artists that were way more established than myself to hop on those that same set of beats. You know what I mean? So he gave me the nod, and I took I took what he gave me and I painted over him. So you get records like "Nice to Meet You," and I'm just basically letting you know this is who you're going to listen to for this next hour. You know what I mean? My name is Philmore Greene. I'm from the West Side of Chicago. It's an introduction. People never forget their introduction to a person. So it was so fitting, and that beat, like,
Yeah,
come on, man, it's like a sunny morning, you know, like let's wake up and let's say hi to each other. Good morning, hey, how you doing? You know, so it's like that's what it was. Nice to meet you.
like I know when artists like doing like when they have like a very like a I don't like a, it's a sampled intro. We won't have to say where it's from, but it's called Consequences though. But like the way it goes into the second track and like how influential like what it says about your dreams and it really hit and then it goes into Nice to Meet You. You're just like I can't listen to this album like one song. I have to listen to it from the front to the end, if that makes sense. And
No,
that's how I
you gotta listen to the intro, man. The intro just kind of sets the tone and lets you know what this album is about, man. Perfectly.
Yeah,
It tells you exactly what you're about to listen to. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And it gives you the content right away. So there's no surprises.
Now, now,
No,
now, before I let you guys go, like even with the intro now too, with this intro, and I know like you guys are perfectionists. Was there a different intro as opposed to Consequences, like where Fillmore actually rapping as opposed to a
No,
sample?
no, no, no. That was the intro. That was you know what I'm saying? I had the idea of getting Tony Baker on the intro at first, the comedian.
Oh wow,
And Tony Baker's he's a hip hop head. He's a fan of mine. I'm a fan of his. Um, and he's also a Chicago cat. So, but you know, maybe another time. You know, I found this sound bite, and it was just like kismet. You know what I'm saying? It was perfect, and it
perfect.
really lets you in and tells you exactly what. Because I can't do an album without an intro. I don't have
don't
albums
understand
without
that.
intros. I have to do an intro. I don't know if that's the old school in me or if that's just coming from, you know, ever since Illmatic, man. It's like you gotta I just an
Ooh,
intro, man. You know what I'm saying? It gotta something that just kind of sets the mood, sets the tone of the album, and brings you in, eases you in the album. I'm never a fan of. I just don't like when an album starts out with a beat, with a song, boom, just boom. I'm like, nah,
Yes, wait
no,
in, wait in there.
I need to give you foreplay. You know what I'm saying? That's what the intro
right,
is. It's a little foreplay. It's a little kiss on the neck. You know what I'm saying? A
right,
little
right.
touchy feely, a little bit of this, whatever, whatever. It's an intro. It's foreplay, man. It gets you in the mood and kind of acclimates you, whether it's 15 seconds or a minute or whatever. It acclimates you and gets you ready for what's about to come. So, and this intro was perfect, perfect.
Perfect.
And I like how it does because it shows like, you once said like the era from 96, oh sorry, from 91 to 96 was your golden like and I truly
That's my golden era right there. 91 and 96. That's my golden era.
and as for somebody who didn't get to experience, I came in the world in 91, but when I grew up and went back, I would give my left not to go back and like experience like 91, like just like because like the music, the music of that's how desperate I want to go back and like actually experience this because like I never got to experience Black Moon or The Shining or like Gangster like when they were first coming out in it because I was a kid back I didn't know it
Oh
back
yeah,
then.
yeah, yeah, of course. That's certain times that we all wish that we were a part of, man. I think I joke, man, and say, if I was a producer in 1994, man, maybe, things would be a little bit different, man. But then again, there might not be an Apollo Brown if I was a producer back then because I didn't have, I was lucky enough to come up with, the DJ Premiers and the Pete Rocks and the Beat Miners and, the large pros to influence an Apollo Brown. You know what I'm saying? For me to come out and make music. You know what I'm saying? So there wouldn't be me and my peers if there wasn't those guys before us. And so I'm kind of glad I did come out when I did, man, and make the music I made, even though there's probably 100 times more producers and MCs than there was back then, man. But even so, you got to kind of find your rightful place in this shit, and hopefully that you can make something that stands out from the crowd, man. And I think I've done that.
Oh yeah, there's like about like maybe like eight that stand out from the crowd from this entire world of
Right,
producers. So
right, man.
shout out to Finale for giving you the name Apollo Brown, man, and
Yeah,
shout
he
out to
solidified it definitely.
you for
Blue
finding
finale.
humble and finding an artist like Fillmore Greene. Now
Oh,
before
I didn't find Fillmore. Fillmore been out for a minute, man. It's just I happened to stumble upon him myself, man. I would give more of that credit and his sound to Rashid Hadi. You know what I'm saying?
salute to the
Hadi is
CID.
Hadi is the guy. So when you go back and listen to Fillmore's albums, Hadi is the mastermind behind the sound. So definitely,
Blue Rashid.
yep,
Track 15 on Cost of Living
Yes,
featuring Rashid
sir.
ID.
Rashid
Now,
Hadi, man.
Where's the
now,
love?
I don't know if you guys got to ask this question about the album, but it's the last question I want to ask you too. What do you guys hope to inspire others with this album?
Go ahead,
Say
bro.
that again.
Like, what do you guys hope to accomplish with this album? Like, do you guys want to like be like leave somebody inspired? Like, what do you guys like set out to do with this album? Like, what did you guys aim to accomplish?
Everything I do is to inspire. Everything I do is to inspire others. You might spark somebody to do something that they were afraid to do. And hopefully by listening to this I can inspire someone to take a leap of faith and starting that business. Everything I do is to show love. Love is my real last name. So I walk with that. Everything I do is to inspire others, man. Make the right decisions, even if it's the wrong decisions. You got to learn from it. It's all a learning process, and just stick with it. And the art of networking is real. I didn't grow up with Apollo, but the art of networking and hard work is real because as you heard him say, he I was in Detroit several times with when we connected. So that means I had to be putting in the groundwork, hard work. Stick to your guns and work hard to what you want to work hard towards what you want to do. And, you know, your Apollo Brown may tap you on the shoulder and give you a look. You know what I mean? Pause. Super pause. But yeah, man.
Man, like
Stick to your guns, man. Stick to your guns.
I like
Stick
that.
to your guns, bro.
Man, if anybody made it this far, I hope you enjoyed this conversation we had with these two gentlemen right now. I want to go out of my way and say, I want to thank you two gents for coming on the show and explaining some of the albums and some of your career on this platform, just for the fans to hear. So, because if they're like me, they want to know more about the artists and producers. So, I really hope that you guys get a Grammy for this. I think the Grammys for probably next year will pick this up. But yeah, this is Grammy worthy music right here. But like you said, if there's anything I can do to help you
I'm
guys promote this album, just let me know. Is there anything that you two want to say before I let you two go?
Yo, well, I appreciate you for having us, man. And you know, any way we can get the word out, is good with me, man. And we definitely appreciate your support and the fact that you do your research, man, and come up with certain things that surprised me, man, a little bit. So I've been asked a lot of things, but I enjoyed this, man. It was cool.
Hey man, you guys are taking the time out of your day. The least I can do is do my research and make it enjoyable and don't be like asking regular questions. So
Yeah.
Lacoste Living is out now. It's on the screen. Links in description. You're Apollo Philmore Greene. Yo, you guys are welcome back anytime. Anytime I can do for you. I wish you guys nothing but success.
Dope, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.